Have you ever wondered how it is to live remotely? How about living in the most remote inhabited place on Earth? The former British colony, founded in 1816 when the UK annexed the island and named it Tristan da Cunha. The closest inhabited place is another island called St. Helena, which is 2,173 kilometers away. The closest they have to mainland is Cape Town, and to get there you'll have to traverse a distance of 2,500 kilometers. Enough of that. It's time to travel to Edinburgh of the Seven Seas.
There are currently 246 British citizens living on the island, a number which has remained mostly stable through the years. One of the biggest reasons for this is that the citizens of this island simply do not want outsiders to move in, and thus they don't allow it. The people who live there are all second, third and fourth generation of the original inhabitants who moved in during the late 1800s. This means that everyone on the island is now somehow related. Why are all of them related, I hear you ask? Well, you don't, but I'm gonna tell you anyway, because I can. There were only 9 different families who moved to the island and stayed there, and it is quite hard finding someone from another family when no outsider is allowed to move in.
During the years after its discovery, the island has been used for many different things. In the beginning it was a military garrison placed there to protect St. Helena from French attempts to rescue Napoleon. This garrison was in active use until the end of World War II, when it was finally decommissioned. The next big thing to happen on the island was that the volcano erupted. Yes, the island is an active volcano, and in 1961 it erupted, destroying the entire existing settlement. The settlement was later rebuilt 2 years later with newer and more modern things like electricity and more 60s looking British houses. The electricity on the island was all powered by diesel generators, but they later noticed that this wasn't going to work in the long run because the boats supplying them with diesel didn't come very often. The citizens then built more sustainable energy sources on the island. Now the island is completely self-supporting when it comes to electricity. They are also self-supporting when it comes to food and income, but they still have to import things like paper, building materials, electronics and other more advanced things.
Because this island is situated on the south of the equator and in the middle of the ocean, it has a quite peculiar terrain, climate and wildlife. The island is right next to the mid-Atlantic ridge and was formed by a crack connected to the ridge caused by the 2 tiles moving. This is also why the island is an active volcano. From most pictures, the volcano doesn't look that tall, so it will surprise you to hear that it is actually 2,062 meters tall. Some people have climbed the mountain, and the last time someone was on top was in 2015. They shared some extraordinary views from the higher points of the island. Before 2015, no one had been at the top since the 80s. Because of the placement of the island, it has a very diverse wildlife. They have exotic animals and fish, but they also have a bunch of Arctic creatures living on it. One of the animals that live here are penguins, but they also have 3 species of albatross that are exclusive to the island. Why both of these creatures can coexist on the same island is because of the climate and weather of the island. The temperature is very strange here. It never really goes above 20 degrees, but it never goes under 10. The lowest recorded temperature on the island is 4 degrees and the highest is 24. It rains approximately 252 out of the 365 days of the year here. So it isn't that different from England after all.
When it comes to food, they are mostly completely self-supportive. Most of their food is grown and cultivated on the island. Most of the inhabited land is farming land and is used to produce both crops and meat. They have brought a bunch of European cows and sheep, which they breed and eat. Even though they are mostly self-sufficient, they are still forced to import some supplies, such as sugar, salt and coffee. The citizens also have a large export of lobsters and crawfish. These are sold to Japan for quite a lot of money, making it their main export. The only restaurant on the island is called the Albatross Bar. They sell normal food that you would see in any other restaurant in any other place of the world. A fun fact, is that this restaurant has a lot of reviews, and one of them says that you'll have to pay with coconuts to get food, but we had no way of confirming that. There is also a cafe on the island called Café da Cuna. They sell mostly simple cakes and cookies. The owners also tend to make desserts whenever there's a party. The growing of food is something that the inhabitants tend to compete in. Every year when they celebrate Queen's Day, they also compete to see whose tomatoes, potatoes, turnips, etc. are the best. It doesn't matter if it weighs the most, it just has to be the best. And I don't really know how they measure that, but they do somehow. On this day, they also do a lot of normal English traditions, like bobbing apples and walking with a potato on their head.
Thus concludes our tour of Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. We thank you for listening, and if you wish to learn more about this great settlement, you can head to their website, https://www.tristandc.com/index.php. Here you'll find everything that is happening and that has happened in the past 10+ years. It is very funny to look through, and it is very professional, as you can see here.
Now get off my island!